clicking on this Rank the Movies video. Alright, we've been going backwards through time with the first 5 video games turned into movies. And we're at this first one, the one that started it all, Super Mario Brothers. I gotta admit, I enjoyed this movie. I just finished rewatching it. Unfortunately, I don't have a bunch of copies. Like Street Fighter I really like, and I had the Blu-ray, the VHS, the Laserdisc. I have never stumbled across any other version of this movie than the DVD. I've never seen the Laserdisc. I've never came across a VHS copy of it. I have a magnet, but like the magnet is so small, I'm almost certain it's not like, it wouldn't even be worth putting on camera. It's kind of like this is sitting on camera. The Wobbuffet might come off. You might be able to tell what Wobbuffet is, but this is clearly, at best, you can tell it's a Star Trek ship. You'll never figure out which one it is from this camera angle, and it's kind of how that magnet would be. It's not a big magnet, but it's the only other thing for the Super Mario Brothers movie I have. I enjoy this movie. I think it is a lot of fun. Do I think it's a great interpretation of the video game? Absolutely not. It's a horrible interpretation of the video games. But I think it's a fun movie altogether. And I mean, Bob Hoskins, John Leguizamo, Dennis Hopper as our 3 main characters, Mario, Luigi, and Koopa respectively. I mean, those are just great casting choices. So it's a very well-acted movie. It's a very well-presented movie. I mean, the effects look good, for the most part. Some of them are a little corny, mainly when you get to the CG towards the end of the movie. That gets a little weird. The plot gets a little dicey at places. Like, it's not a great plot, and it's not the most coherent plot of a movie ever made, but it does make sense. I just feel like they tried to wrap it up really quickly, and this movie could have benefited for like an extra 5 or 10 minutes at the end, just to, because okay, so the movie is about an asteroid hit the Earth, didn't kill the dinosaurs, sent the dinosaurs to a parallel universe, where they also evolved into humanoids, not evolving from dinosaurs instead of mammals. They live on a desert planet with one usable plot of land, which is where the Mushroom Kingdom has been built. Koopa is the dictator who wants to take over the human world, the world of mammals. But he can't do it because he needs the full meteorite that struck and separated the 2 universes, and one piece is missing, along with the Princess Daisy, who is the last member of the royal family and the last person who can withstand the force of putting the meteorite back together. Princess Daisy was whisked away as a child, away from Koopa by her mother, and sent to Brooklyn, because that's where the portal comes out, is Brooklyn. Daisy's now 20 years old. Koopa is sending his 2 cousins, Iggy and Spike, to go search Brooklyn and find Daisy. They have many failures. Mario and Luigi also live in Brooklyn and are plumbers who are having a very bad time of it when they meet Daisy. They decide Luigi falls in love with Daisy, and that is how she's eventually kidnapped. Mario and Luigi go after her, and we're taken to the Mushroom Kingdom. And the movie just and because Koopa's plot is to merge the worlds, that actually does happen at the end of the movie, and that's what I think goes too fast, is that Koopa merges the worlds, they show up for like 2 minutes with the world merge, and then it's just done. Like, I feel like I could have used a couple of more beats of that world merging before they went back, and just like, Koopa's reaction to being sucked back seems really rushed. Again, I feel like this movie could have benefited from just a few extra minutes of storytelling in that part of the story. The Mushroom Kingdom is supposed to... Basically, the idea is the dinosaurs who have evolved can see into what our world looks like, and they're trying to copy what they see. So they're trying to copy New York, but they're not as evolved, so they have different technologies for things, and they're trying to cram a lot more into a very small space. Their cars all run on grids instead of gas, because I don't think they have any... Because obviously they don't have gas, because gas would come from themselves. And they're not squished into the ground for thousands of years. So they have to use electric grids to move their vehicles about. So everything's sparky. It kind of looks like New York, but it kind of looks like a futuristic ghetto New York. Not to mention there's a fungus growing everywhere, because that is the old king who's been de-evolved and is now fungus. Again, the movie's plot is kind of an interesting plot, though. The idea of dinosaurs and humans being separated by the meteorite, them evolving, and the decision for them to come back over to try to take over our world. It's an interesting plot. Is it a plot from a Mario Brothers game? No. Not even a little. Not even a little. There's some other things, like, obviously the princess is dating, I mentioned it, is, interested in Luigi, whereas in the games, you get the idea that the princess wants Mario. I think what happened is they decided they wanted Daisy to be 20, and Mario and Luigi, Mario's the older brother, therefore Luigi has to be age appropriate, because it's a weird adventure if Mario was in his 20s, which would make Luigi, at best, in his teens. And then how are they plumbers? Why are they plumbers? Wouldn't Mario have to be a plumber's assistant, and Luigi be not a plumber? I think I get the logic of these choices. They do give Mario a girlfriend, so he does, and she is kidnapped. It's just she doesn't learn that she's been kidnapped until much later into the film. So I'm like, well, if you had let that known earlier and let that play into what Mario's doing, I think that could have brought you a little closer to the game, that he's like going after his princess in Koopa Tower. I don't know, and then do you have him go to the wrong tower at that point, so you can say your princess isn't in this tower? Yeah, it's not a castle, but a tower. Do you do that? Is that a relevant joke? Like, I know it's a thing from the games, but I don't know if that was a relevant joke until the age of the internet, which this was released in 1993 or 94. I can never remember if this was a 93 or a 94. I am now looking for a year, but these things are always hard to find on the back of these boxes. Because either it's right there where you absolutely can find it right away, or it's hidden like in some piece of fine print. Like, they don't want you to know how old a movie is. Like, they just want you to... I don't even see it on here. I don't even see, like, the year the disc was pressed. Like, normally that is on these things as well, and you run into that before you find the actual release year. But yep, I got nothing here. I think 93 or 94 is when it came out, so I don't think the internet was a huge thing, and obviously memes weren't a thing. So yeah, I don't know if that joke would have actually been thought of. There are some decent jokes. There's a running gag about Koopa ordering a pizza, and he asks where his pizza is, and then his pizza shows up, but of course, he's battling the Mario Brothers when his pizza shows up, so he can't eat it. It's more entertaining in the movie than it is, like, just saying it. Again, I think Bob Hoskin and John Leguizamo do great jobs as Mario and Luigi. I think they have good chemistry together. I think they do. I think Dennis Hopper's a great villain. I get it. He doesn't look like Koopa. He doesn't look like King Koopa. King Koopa, and he leads the Goombas. I love Dennis Hopper's delivery of the word Goomba. It is a Goombas. Yes, Goomba. The Goombas don't look like they do from nothing really looks like it does from the game, and even when stuff does, it's scaled like it's not proportionate to how it should look. Like, you see the bullets that fly across the screen in the video games, which are huge compared to Mario and Luigi, and they're like Wobbuffet size in this thing. Same thing, kind of like the Bob-omb is about equal size to a Goomba, and again, the Bob-omb is like super tiny, and I love the fact, like, I don't know if it might have bothered me when I was younger, but now I really appreciate the fact that Goomba is a twist wheel one of those old school like Tinker toys that take the steps. Well, I love that fact now. I watched it and I went, man, I love that. I love the fact that it's like that. I like that concept for this movie. Um, so again, it's a very nostalgic movie. And yeah, nothing looks like it's supposed to, but again, yes, animatronics have come a long way, but I think they knew they couldn't rely fully on animatronics to make like Koopa. And CG was not even in the question for this movie, because the CG, when it happens, it looks real bad. The practicals look good. The practicals look great. Yoshi looks amazing in this movie, but it's a practical. The Goombas are also practical, but they're practical build-ons. So, like, the head and shoulders go on, like, the head of the puppeteer. So the Goombas are really tall and really broad. Which, yeah, they're not little mushroom guys. I guess they're little mushrooms. And Toad is a Goomba, which is weird because Toad is his own thing. Again, this movie had to make a lot of alterations to make it work, to make a movie out of this concept. Which some people will raise the question, well, if you had to do that, why are you making it? I'm one that, if you haven't figured out and you know what you're trying to say, then you might as well go for it. Like, yeah, you can't do everything, but they're telling a story where that doesn't matter. Where Koopa doesn't have to look like a giant shelled lizard, because they're saying he has now evolved. He's evolved to look humanoid. Therefore, you can cast Dennis Hopper. So I'm okay with that, because they found ways to make it work, and they made it part of the plot. They made it part of the movie as to why. Goombas are taller. They get taller, but this is suspension of disbelief. But the Goombas, part of their look is the fact that they're de-evolved members of the community. They're prisoners who've been de-evolved. So the fact that they have like a height that matches a human, although they are much taller than humans, again, suspension of disbelief, you can at least understand their height. Like, if they started at human height, and then for some reason they got bigger and bulkier because they were de-evolved, at least they didn't get short. Like, I think it would have bothered me more if they got shorter. Also, it's that whole, like, in a video game, it's fine to have your main character sit there and jump on top of things to kill them. In a movie, if something's that much smaller than your main character, and there's supposed to be an army of them, it looks weird, and it's hard to buy. So I get it again, too. You want them bigger. You want them threatening. And I accept that. And I accept all that now that I'm older and watching this movie. Again, I really enjoy this movie. This is still my favorite video game movie of all time. Like, again, is it a good adaptation? Hell no! Is it a good, fun movie? Absolutely. I do. I really enjoy this movie. I enjoy the aesthetic behind it. Again, they make a lot of changes, but to me, it just makes for an entertaining movie. Because although in some movies the changes become super annoying, they become obvious. It's the same thing when you take a book and turn it into a movie. Sometimes the changes are super annoying, and other times they're just really fun, and you just accept them because you're enjoying yourself. The minute you stop enjoying yourself is when you start like nitpicking and going, well, this isn't how it's supposed to be. But as long as you're enjoying yourself, I think you just are willing to suspend your disbelief to the point where you just kind of accept that this is what's happening, and this is the world we now find ourselves in. And I think that's what this movie does. It's so enjoyable that you kind of just accept the world of, that this is the world of this Super Mario Brothers. Of course, it has the tease before the credits of a sequel that never happened, and we'll get to a little bit of that in a minute. It has a tease. I would have loved to have seen what the sequel would have been and who the villain, because I guess they did Koopa, and if you argue that Koopa and Bowser are two different characters, I'd imagine the new villain would be Bowser. But Bowser and Koopa basically the same. it's a weird question because the games kind of like to ping pong back and forth with the name. Though as far as I know, I'm pretty sure Koopa and Bowser both look the same. And you also have an end credit scene, which is, again, this is a early 90s movie. Did they really expect their audience to sit through all the credits or something? It's not even a credit, it's just Iggy and Spike, Koopa's cousins, for some reason in the Mario Brothers apartment. It's unexplained. It might have been part of, like, their sequel bait, is that they would have been in New York. I don't know. But they're pitching. There's people from Nintendo, I'm assuming they're from Nintendo, are asking them about making a video game out of their adventures, and they're coming up with a title. So, I don't know. I don't know what the point of that. It's, like, kind of amusing. It's a ha-ha-ha. It's like, ha-ha-ha-ha-ha-ha, I want more. It's like, ha-ha? Why? Again, I feel like this might have been something that paid off in a sequel. So it might have been, this might have been a very early instance of, I want to tell you about the Avengers Initiative, but the Avengers Initiative, unlike Iron Man, who we got to find out the Avengers Initiative, I feel like Super Mario Brothers, we never got to find out what the Super Koopa cousins were gonna turn into, and what that had to do with the Super Mario Brothers cinematic universe. Which 100%, I feel like we should make the requel. I want this. I want a requel to this. Screw the animated movie that they're working on with Chris Pratt as Mario, either doing his normal Chris Pratt voice or doing a bad Italian accent. Let's screw that noise. Not that I'm against Chris Pratt. I'm probably going to end up seeing the movie anyways, because either it's going to be good or it's going to be hilariously bad. Either way, I win. But yeah, I'm not even sure, but the movie might already, I don't think it's supposed to be out by the time this video drops. I'm pretty sure this video predates it. I don't know. Anyways, screw that. I get it. Bob Hoskins has passed on, and that's sad. But there are others who can play Mario. There are others. And just make them the kids of Daisy and Luigi. Like, that's how you get the requel. And he named his first kid Mario, and the second one is after his brother, and the second one is Luigi Mario Jr. Bam! I've made a requel to this movie, and we can follow storylines. It'll be great. This is $1 million idea. Whoever the rights holders are, is it still Buena Vista? I don't think it's Buena Vista, but whoever the rights holders are, contact me. This is a $20 million movie right here. This will make $20 million. I'll need a little more to make it than $20 million, but it's a $20 million movie. Printing money. All right, now, speaking of 20 million, I took the liberty of jotting down all the movies I've covered this month or over the last 5 weeks. I've taken the liberty of jotting down how much they cost and how much their worldwide gross was. This is all off of the IMDb, and I've rounded the numbers, so I'm not like sitting there going 41,300,000. I'm just saying numbers straight here. So, Super Mario Brothers, which was the first video game movie ever produced, cost $48 million to make. And after watching the movie, I'm not surprised that this movie cost $48 million to make. It took in a total of $20 million in the worldwide box office. It's a horrible take. I get why there wasn't a sequel. That right there proves it. Like, it lost $28 million. Double Dragon, which we talked about last week, was the next one. According to IMDb, and I feel like this number is real low, both of these numbers are awfully low, but this is what I'm working off of, so I'm going to use the numbers it gave me. IMDb said $8 million is what this movie is what Double Dragon cost to make. Which I guess they didn't really. Robert Patrick was the biggest name, and Alyssa Milano, so maybe they didn't cost that much. But it made $2 million according to IMDb. Worldwide, it made $2 million. So again, and yet they kept making video game properties. But then we got to Street Fighter. Street Fighter, oddly enough, even though the first two video game franchise movies, it lost a lot of money, millions of dollars, they still gave it $35 million, which I guess a lot of that probably went to Jean-Claude Van Damme. I'm assuming a lot of that went to Jean-Claude Van Damme. But it brought in $99 million in the worldwide box office. So again, this is Street Fighter, the first video game movie to turn a profit at $99 million off of a $35 million budget. Mortal Kombat cost $18 million and brought in a worldwide gross of $122 million. Mortal Kombat grossed $104 million more than it cost to make. That's an astonishing number right there for video game movies, especially since we've got a loss of $28 million, a loss of $6 million, a gain not a little more than double, and then $104 million. It's a lot. Mortal Kombat Annihilation, because they were able to make Mortal Kombat in $18 million and make $122 million, they gave Mortal Kombat Annihilation $30 million. I don't know where that money went. It did end up in that movie. That movie looks like shit, but it was a $30 million piece of shit, and there's no, actor. I can't look at Street Fighter. I look at it and I say Jean-Claude Van Damme. $35 million, probably Jean-Claude Van Damme cost a couple of million out of that. Raw Julia, maybe $1 or $2 million. Mortal Kombat Annihilation had no one. They couldn't even bring back the Christopher Lambert, or what, the biggest named actor of the first movie. They couldn't even bring him back, and they were given $30 million. It made $51 million. So, in 1 year, Mortal Kombat came out. The next year, Mortal Kombat Annihilation came out, which is probably why it also looks like a big piece of shit. Came out the next year. Went from a $104 million gain to a $21 million gain. That is a huge drop-off. Now, was it the fact that the movie sucked? Probably. That probably didn't help. Wing Commander, the first movie we reviewed all those weeks ago, also had a $30 million budget, which I guess makes sense. And it, much like Super Mario Brothers and Double Dragon, it underperformed at $11 million worldwide. No one's surprised on that. So, of these 6 movies, you got a 50-50 split here of loss to gain, but the gain is so much higher, all because of Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat is our big winner here, because $104 million, none of these movies came close to losing that much money. Again, Mortal Kombat Annihilation basically zeroes out Super Mario Brothers outside of a couple of million. And I think Street Fighter kills off both Wing Commander and Double Dragon. So that $104 million is the full, the first 6 super video game movies made about $104 million off of their total budgets versus total gross column to column. That's a lot of money. So you get why they kept making them. Yeah, you look at these individual lines and there's some losses here. But you look at that gain, still $104 million was made by making all of these movies. It's a pretty interesting figure. Like I said, I just jotted this stuff down quickly. I took all my information from IMDb. Just because I thought it was an interesting way to wrap this up, is talk about, well, here are the first 5, and if Super Mario Brothers, Double Dragon, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and Wing Commander are generally considered bad movies, I don't. I like Street Fighter, Super Mario Brothers. Double Dragon's got a spot for me. It's a bad movie, but it's fun. Then why? Why do they keep making more? And it's because once Mortal Kombat came out and they saw they could make $104 million, they started going, haha, we should keep trying. Because eventually, we're going to do this again. It might not be the Mortal Kombat property, but we can do this again. We can do it with Resident Evil. I'm not actually sure what Resident Evil's gross was. I didn't write any of the other ones down. Some of them had to have. I feel like Sonic did fairly well, because it got that right before the pandemic release. So I think that one did fairly well. I could be wrong. Again, the Resident Evil movies, I think outside of Welcome to Raccoon City, have all done varying levels. But I think, again, I feel like if you were to lay them out next to each other, like how much each one cost versus how much each one took in, it's still a positive amount of money has been made off of those. But yeah, so Super Mario Brothers. I love this movie. It's a great movie. If you've never checked it out, watch it. Just go into it going, this is not anything like the video game. Just repeat that. It's a mantra. This is not like the video game. This is not like the video game. This is not going to be like the video game. Not like the video game. And you'll really enjoy it. It's a really enjoyable movie. I feel like I wish it made more. I wish more people would have just enjoyed this movie and gotten that 20 million up. Because, man, if this thing could have hit like 80 million, it's still less than half its budget. But we might have gotten Super Mario Brothers 2. Yeah, the budget probably would have been closer to like what Mortal Kombat got, 18 million. And even that, I'm surprised. Like, after Mortal Kombat hit and made $104 million, that they didn't try to make a Super Mario Brothers 2 with like an $18 million budget. Like, bring the budget down 30 million and see if you can't, like, hit something. Because who knows? Like, after Mortal Kombat, another Super Mario Brothers movie might have done it. They might have been able, with a smaller budget, they might have been able to make money and even recoup what they lost, the 28 million they lost on the original. They might have, overall been able to make money on that series. I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs and why they didn't. I know Super Mario Bros. Scared Nintendo for years about letting any of their properties get turned into movies. Like, again, Sonic just happened, and that's a Sega, but I think Nintendo now owns it. It's hard to say, but I know, like, Metroid and Zelda, both, they haven't gotten movies yet, even though they're big properties, same thing with Star Fox, because of the failure of this movie. But again, I really like it. So check it out if you never have. I am Martin Prevost. This is Rank the Movies. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to make sure you don't miss any content. Next week, I'm looking at The Thing. The John Carpenter version, the Howard Hughes version, the 2011 version, the novella, the short story. I'm looking at all 5 of them, and I'm going to talk about them, and it's going to be a good time. It's going to be a good time. And after that, I'm going to start doing some movies I've never seen before that are ones I keep getting told I need to see. These movies include Bonnie and Clyde, Top Gun, and both versions of Dune is what I'm going to be wrapping up this month with. So check those out. They'll be coming out. It'll be a good time. All right. I will see you later.